Welcome to Owl's Air Guns. Today we are comparing a couple of really neat CO2 air pistols, the Gamo P-27 and the Crosman MK45. Now both are CO2 air pistols, both operate off a 12-gram CO2 cartridge, and both cartridges are stored in the grip frames. The Gamo inserts from the rear there, has a little back strap that slides back into place, and changing CO2 is very straightforward in it. The Crosman, on the other hand, also has it stored in the grip, and it has a sliding grip panel that you can slide to the rear and replace the CO2 cartridge this way. The grip panel also removes if you need to, but I found that very convenient. Both pistols fire BBs and have similar velocities overall, although the Crosman does offer higher velocity with BBs than the Gamo does, but we'll talk about those kind of specs in just a moment. Until then, we're going to stay general for a moment. As you can tell, both pistols are made out of polymer. The Gamo is a single-tone, all-black pistol, actually manufactured in Japan, and exhibits very good quality and craftsmanship overall. The sights on it are the white dot style like we find on Glock pistols, and I found them to be extremely functional overall. The Crosman, on the other hand, has a two-tone color scheme with the flat dark earth and then the black trigger and grip panel here. The Crosman also has fixed sights, but it does have fiber optic inserts, and these are very bright. I found them to be very useful, and with the exception of a possible durability concern, because I noticed that this element does hang back a little bit, could be damaged, but so far, it's proven to be very robust, so I don't know that that's a legitimate concern. Looking at it in that way, I would tend to give the sights as better on the Crosman pistol than on the Gamo. With my old eyes, I just find the fiber optic sights easier to pick up, and fortunately, they're still small enough in diameter that it allows for precision shooting. So that's one of the big differences that I noticed in the two pistols is the sights. Now, both pistols have Picatinny or Weaver style interfaces underneath the barrel, so you can go ahead and put on a flashlight or a laser designator. So they're the same in that regard. Continuing to talk about physical differences, the magazine release for the Gamo is a push-button style. It is on the right side only, and therefore kind of favors the right-handed operator. Whereas the Crosman pistol uses one of these paddle releases, and the paddle is accessible on both sides of the trigger guard. So in that sense, it is more ambidextrous and easy to use for left-handed shooters. So in that way, again, I think in terms of usability, I would tend to give a little bit of a nod to the Crosman. While we're on the subject of magazines, the Gamo has an interesting magazine solution. They have two 8-shot rotary clips on either end of the magazine. So they consider it a 16-round magazine, but when you're shooting, and I always have to look at this one. It has little icons on the side to show you which way is which. But when you're shooting with the Gamo, I get 8 shots, and then I have to release the mag, flip it over, and continue to shoot to get my 16 shots. Now, the Crosman, on the other hand, the magazine for it, and the Crosman is BB only, and the Gamo also fires pellets, so that's part of the difference in the magazine design and definitely one of the differences between the two pistols. But talking about the magazine still, as far as it goes for BBs, The Crosman does use an all-metal magazine, quite substantial, feels very robust, and it holds 20 BBs. The other cool part about it is it uses a spring-loaded follower. You can pull it to the rear where it catches, and then simply dump BBs into this hole. And it works quite well. Hold it at a low angle. BBs all run down to the front. When you get them all in there, go ahead, release the follower, and you've got 20 shots of force-fed BBs. So it never has misfires like some BB guns will do. Now, I didn't see any kind of misfire with the Gamo either. Like I said, it has the 8 and 8 on either end of the magazine, and since it is dual ammunition, you can load either pellets or BBs into these magazines. Now, at first, I had questions about how well it will work with BBs, and actually it works really well. They have a very strong magnet in the hub of this rotary clip, so when you set BBs in, you just drop them into the little retaining spot there, and they don't fall away. And once they're in there, the magazine keeps them tight inside of the clip. They don't fall out or anything like that, and there's not any problems with pressure or them pushing through. So actually I found it very easy to load, not as easy to load as the Crosman, where we're just dumping BBs in there. And of course we have to load this, rotating it, and then flip it around and load another 8 BBs in that. So in a way, I would have to give magazine operation to the Crosman based on the fact that the mag release is ambidextrous. It is a full metal magazine, so it looks to be a little more robust. And magazine capacity is higher, and we get our 20 shots before we have to reload. We don't have to do the flipping back or forth. So that is something I would, see, I just put that in backwards too. If I don't look at the markings on it to tell which way it goes, I tend to do that sometimes with the Gamo, whereas with the Crosman, it's really very clear which way the magazine goes. There's even a little foot down on the bottom that shows you. So, yeah. Magazine operation overall, based on capacity, ambidextrous release, and how easy it is to orient into the pistol, I would give the nod there to the Crosman. Now, there are a couple of significant advantages to the Gamo. One of those is its ability to fire pellets. Now, because of the design of the magazine, there are limitations to what pellets it's able to fire. This is a fairly short circular clip in there, so long pellets do not work in this. You need to have a relatively short pellet, basically your standard wide cutters, standard, well, even when I was trying to use the RWS Superdomes, they did not work in this pistol. They tended to jam and not feed properly. Using the little Daisy wide cutters, or I think they call them flat-nosed pellets, they work just fine. Gamo also claims you can use Raptors in here without a problem, but I could not use the Crosman Fast Flight alloy pellets I had because they're simply too long for this circular or this rotary clip on it. So yes, it shoots pellets. However, it doesn't shoot all pellets. You are somewhat limited in the pellets that it shoots. Now, I found it to be very accurate with pellets. This is Al from the future. I went ahead and retested the accuracy, and I'm going to go ahead and insert those pictures and clips right here. Okay, I started out with the Crosman MK45. I was shooting cold, no warm-ups, but thought we'd do another comparison. This is 16 shots. Looks like 2 of them are in the 9 ring. All of the rest are inside the 10 or even inside the Red Bull. Looks like we've got the 2 outside in the 9, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 in the 10 ring, and then the remainder, which if my math is good, would be another, 5 inside the Red Bull. So that's how we did with the MK45. Let's see how and I was seated and just resting my elbows on my knees, sitting in a chair. So anyway, we'll go ahead now with the PK27 and see how I do with it. Okay, here is how I shot with the P-27, the Gamo, and most of those I've got 5 hits in the 9 ring, and those were all of my first shots. Like I said, that pistol tends to shoot a little bit to the left for me. As I shot, I was able to adjust my aim and start hitting in the 10 ring, and the balance of the shots, I've got 9 shots in the 10 ring there, and of those, only 2 are in the 10, and the remaining 7 are in the Red Bull. So what I see is the Gamo is an incredibly accurate pistol. However, it tends to shoot a little bit to the left for me, and I kind of have to get in the groove with it before I hit on track. And like I said, I still feel like once in a while it throws one high and to the left. Now I may go ahead and shoot this again just to get another target here with the Gamo now that I've shot it. As I say, you know, what I feel with the Gamo, that the inherent accuracy, the accuracy the pistol is capable of, is very good. The practical accuracy, how easy it is to get that accuracy out of it, is a little more challenging than with the MK45. The MK45 is easier to hit with out of the gate. Now also I was on a new CO2 cartridge with the Gamo, so like I say, I'm going to go ahead and tape up another target here and give it a second chance. But all in all, while the intrinsic accuracy may be stronger, I feel like the Crosman kind of wins in the accuracy department because it is so much easier to shoot well. Okay, here's my second attempt with the Gamo P-27. Yeah, as you'll see, the pistol continues to shoot a bit to the left for me, at least with BBs. And even having warmed up with it, given it a second chance, looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, well, at least 3 that are clearly in the 9 ring. These break the line, but they're well centered. I mean, you know, they're leaning towards the 9. Technically, we would score them as a 10 because they do break the line. And I've got a number of them in the bull, but yeah, just doesn't shoot for me with BBs as accurately as the Crosman does. And the Crosman is certainly easier to hit with when shooting with BBs. So I think accuracy-wise, we're going to have to give the nod to the Crosman. The Crosman turned in better accuracy with BBs than the Gamo did. Now, that's not to say the Gamo's inaccurate. I actually shot the Mad Minute with the Gamo and did quite well. What I will tell you is when shooting BBs with the Gamo, it will occasionally throw them high and to the left. And if you watch my Mad Minute video that I shoot with the Gamo, you'll see me sometimes hit the can to the left, or you'll see the BB sail over the top of the can. And that just seems to be how the pistol is when firing BBs. And BBs are not the most accurate, particularly at long distance. And as I say, it will once in a while throw them high and to the left. So I found the Crosman tended to keep them more consistently on target. Now, in talking about accuracy, in firing pellets out of the Gamo, I found it to be extremely accurate. So, you know, accuracy with pellets was very high. Accuracy with BBs was actually very good, just not as good as the Crosman. So there were a little bit of the differences there. The other thing when it comes to shooting, the Crosman's trigger pull came in at over 8 pounds, and it's an interesting trigger pull. This hammer here is fake. It doesn't go back, it doesn't do anything, and as a result, you can't cock it for a single action trigger pull. Every trigger pull is all the way through the course of it, positioning, loading the BB, and firing it. Now, it's very smooth operation. You get really good at it. And so although it's a heavier trigger pull, I found it extremely manageable, and I got really good accuracy. So I can't slide it in that way. The Gamo, on the other hand, supports true double and single action. I can choose to thumb cock it if I want and fire in single action. The single action pull is considerably lighter than the double action pull. I'll put both of them on the screen here, but if memory serves, double action pull was about 8 pounds like the Crosman. Single action dropped it down below 5 pounds. But it is kind of weird. There is a lot of take up before the trigger, or before the hammer releases. So it's not a super crisp single action trigger pull, but it is considerably lower in trigger weight. And as a result, you can get some really good accuracy with the single action mode in the Gamo. So having the ability to fire single action is definitely a plus, particularly when you are shooting pellets with it, which have even better accuracy than the BBs do. So in that way, for trigger pull and action, I'd have to give the nod to the Gamo. The other thing, we talked about mag release, but we didn't talk about safeties. Safeties is another difference in the two pistols. Now, neither one of them have an automatic safety, and I take that to be a blessing. I'm not a fan of automatic safeties. I like a standard manual safety. On the Crosman, the safety is on the right side, so it's not ambidextrous, and it's simply a sliding lever or a sliding button. To the rear shows the red ready to fire indicator. To the front shows white, and it's now on safe. When the safety's on, the trigger is disengaged, so there's no real feel to it, and totally takes the trigger out of the system. So I think it's very safe as far as operation. On the Gamo, it too is on the right side only, and it's up on the slide area. Now, where it's different is down is on safe, and up shows the red ready to fire indicator and puts it into a ready to fire mode. Now, the trigger is not disengaged when the safety is on. It simply prohibits the pistol from firing. And when the safety is up, we have the pistol fires. So, it works as you would think it would. And it really, I found, to reliably engage or disengage the safety, to reliably engage the safety, you can do with your hand in a firing position. To disengage the safety, a lot of times I have to change my grip to take it off safe. So with either pistol, it requires a little bit of effort to disengage the safety. Although the Crosman, you can learn to do with the firing grip just by using your index finger. It's not super easy, but it's doable. The Gamo, on the other hand, it is doable. I can kind of teach myself to work it with my thumb, but a lot of times I miss it too. So on that one, for safety operation, I'd really have to give them to be a tie. I think that the operation of the safety is good on either one, but they both have their drawbacks, and I don't know that one holds an advantage over the other. Okay, the next thing we'll do is take a look at weight. Now, the Gamo is a slightly larger pistol, and it's also heavier. The Gamo comes in at 1 pound and 3.9 ounces, or 566 grams. The Crosman, on the other hand, let me get that back, and we'll clear that. The Crosman, on the other hand, comes in at 15.2 ounces, or they rate it at 0.63 pounds. So slightly over 15 ounces, well under a pound there, as opposed to the heavier Gamo pistol. Now, both pistols feel good in your hand. I don't find the weight of the Gamo to be bothersome at all. If anything, it's actually kind of nice. I feel like shooting at distance, having a slightly heavier pistol in your hand, it's not so heavy to be onerous, but the additional weight actually helps a good bit. So I kind of like the extra weight of the Gamo, although, technically, the Crosman is a lighter and smaller pistol. And both pistols were being weighed with the CO2 cartridges in them, but no BBs or pellets resident. While the Gamo is a larger pistol, the difference in size is not as great as it at first appears. The Crosman pistol is 5.5 inches tall and 7 inches in overall length. The Gamo, on the other hand, is 5 3/4 inches tall and has a overall length of 7.5 inches. So it's 1/4 inch taller and a 1/2 inch longer overall. It is heavier, and like I say, it does appear to be more substantial. It appears to be a larger pistol. So to recap, the Crosman has better sights with the fiber optic inserts, also has an ambidextrous magazine release, which is definitely superior, and the magazine itself on the Crosman has higher capacity at 20 BBs, is made of metal, and is considerably easier to load. So we have to give the magazine to the Crosman as well. The accuracy with BBs in double action mode definitely goes to the Crosman. Now, since the Gamo possesses the ability to fire in single action mode and is more accurate in that mode, it has a difference there that you may want to think about. Also, the Gamo can fire pellets and is more accurate firing pellets than either one of them is firing BBs. So that one can really go either way, but firing BBs in double action, I'd have to give it to the Crosman. The safeties are comparable in either pistol, so we give that a draw. The Gamo is a heavier pistol, but I feel like that weight can really be an advantage in shooting targets. So I kind of give that one to the Gamo because it's not heavy enough to be onerous. So we do have some differences that are worth considering. The Gamo, the other thing we really need to talk about is both velocity. The Crosman averages 406 feet per second per magazine, and that's very good. The Gamo, on the other hand, with BBs tends to be more like 330 to 350 feet per second. So definitely there is a velocity advantage with BBs to the Crosman. Now, the other thing is the Gamo is a more expensive pistol. The Gamo sells for basically $70 to $80, and the Crosman sells for $40 to $50. So given the price advantage for many people, I think you'll find the Crosman to be a better buy. Now, that's not to say the Gamo is a bad pistol. Its ability to operate both double and single action and to fire pellets in addition to the BBs, and the fact that when handling both of them, the Gamo does seem to be better made. It's a more expensive pistol, and you can feel that when you handle it. So the Crosman outperforms it in many ways, but that's not to say the Gamo is a bad pistol. I actually like both pistols very much. I'm happy to have both of them, but if you're at all price conscious and you're focused on efficiency or accuracy or some of these handling features, I think you may want to really go with the Crosman MK45. Hey, thanks a lot for staying with me. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. Think about possibly becoming a member. And if nothing else, please go ahead and and give us a like. Hey, thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.